Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to the start of Season 3 from the Norwich City Save. My name is Andy, and this is at 3 p.m. We have a transfer special for you today, but also to catch you up on a couple of league games already played, and a particularly important friendly, which has given us an indicator as to just how good this squad is as we're bringing it all together. We've got some highlights for you here of 3 games before we get into those transfer wheelings and dealings. Let's get right to it.
I'm trying to touch the States this time. 2021. Gotta show him I can still rap though. Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. Run it up. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the back like here I go again. Outside says the chirp, now the camera phone. Told you I'ma keep the channels on. Why you acting different when the camera's on? Why you acting different like your paper long? 8-day wake up and I thank God. Bad decision got you wishing you could say nah. My city gritty, you could get hit any day now. On my mama, I'ma move my family way out. With some 20s, 50s, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, zillions. I'm talking Amazon money, talking so much money I could mess around and buy Amazon. I been winning, I'm like, why me? I heard these labels wanna buy me. I don't need you, boo, I style me. I roll G's and they grind me. Now I'm on my game, nothing is the same. Who am I to blame? Money made me change. Cardi in my ring when I'm switching lanes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Now I gotta.
So a bit of a crazy match, that Community Shield against Manchester City. We had Emi Buendia sent off in the 20th minute and fell behind to a Raheem Sterling goal in the 41st minute. As you can imagine, I went in at half-time thinking that the game was all but gone for us. But we came out, we had a very good second half. We scored an equaliser in the 63rd minute, a Diego Quiros header from point-blank range from a set-piece, and a winner from Todd Cantwell, no less, in the 87th minute. Todd Cantwell's goal, as you might have seen, was a bit of a weird one. The ball just seemed to float over and kind of weave in between a couple of defenders, where it just fell to Todd Cantwell's feet and he volleyed it into the near corner from no more than 6 or 7 yards out. It was a really, really well worked team goal, and it secured us, as I said, the Community Shield, despite the fact that we were down to 10 men against Manchester City's 11. And we've gone into the start of the season in a similar vein of form. We went down 2 goals to Brighton, I think it was. No, in fact, we went 1 up. Emerson scored the first goal. More about him in a moment. Then Brighton scored 2 to make it 2-1. And then up popped Timu Puki. Up popped another new signing, Pepe. And then Lirim Castrati in the 90th minute, making it 4-2. A bit of a shaky start, but we really grew into that match, and by the end of it, we were the deserved winners. And then finally, the most recent match we've played is against Arsenal, where we came out the 1-0 victors with our new striker signing, scoring the goal that we needed, but more about him in a moment. Well, we've been teasing it for this long. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's look at the new signings. We're going to start, of course, with the players that have been let go from the club, and there's been quite a few. We already know that chief among them is our left back, Baba Rahman. He's gone off on a free transfer. Roger Vilker, I brought him in the championship season to start off with, and he proved an able deputy to Emi Buendia, but he has not taken the step up into the Premier League and then into European football, which is where Norwich currently are at the minute, of course. So he has gone on a free transfer to Brest, and certainly we wish Rodrigo, as his actual name is, well, although I'm still going to call you Roger. Sorry, mate. Grant Hanley has gone off to Portsmouth in a £1.1 million deal at 30 years of age, and it's somebody who my coaches reckon is at best a championship central defender. It was a good move for him, good to get money for him from us, and last year he spent the year on loan at Hull, and we didn't really miss him. So he leaves with our fondest wishes as well. I think he'll do very well at Portsmouth. Rocky Bulshiri is the start of a number of larger fee sales. He has moved to Udinese for £7.25 million. And of course, Rocky was kept at the club as a utility player. He could play right back, he could play centre back, he could play in defensive midfield. He just wasn't very good, really, at any of those positions. Not sufficient to break into the first team ahead of Max Aarons, or to break in ahead of Diego Quiros, or even to be the defensive midfielder if we needed to employ one ahead of Oliver Skipp, for example. And £7.25 million for a player of his ability, I think, is a very, very good deal. Speaking of players that didn't necessarily make that jump, Orel Mangala is the next sale that we have made. And we've made a fair profit on him. We bought him for 7 million, and a year later sold him to Levante for 10.25 million. And it is a shame, because actually he is a good player, and the sort of player that if I'd have stayed outside of the European places, I probably would have kept around. He has certain abilities mentally and physically that would make him very appealing, but he just isn't a very technical footballer, and I play a system that needs good passing footballers in order to make the best of it. Premislav Pacheta has gone out on a permanent deal to Verona for £8 million. And you see, he moved on loan to Schalke last year, played 10 times, scored once, assisted twice with a 6.88 average rating. He has never set the world alight, at least not for me. He did okay in the Championship, 5 goals and 25 appearances isn't too bad, but he was never going to be able to step up into the Premier League in my view. If you take away his pace, he is a very ordinary player, and on that basis, £8 million is again a really good deal for us. I think Verona will come to be disappointed with the amount of money that they've spent on him, and perhaps the biggest transfer out of the season so far has got to be Lassina Traore. My God, Traore has been a bitter disappointment. He was brought in with a view to him becoming my star striker. He got 17 opportunities to play, 13 starts of those, and scored 4 goals and 2 assists with a 6.8 rating. Now, look, I'm of the view that strikers need that bit extra time in order to acclimatise. He just wasn't able to make that step up. The coach ratings descended from a 3-star with a 4.5-star potential to 2.5 stars with a 3.5-star, maybe 4.5-star potential there, and as a result of which he was allowed to move on. We've gotten rid of him on loan for the time being, and whilst I was looking to get rid of him permanently, maybe a loan deal isn't such a bad thing. I think a loan deal to a team like Girona, who I think are in the second league of the Spanish football pyramid. Yes, there they are. Maybe a loan to a club like that will give him the time to basically come out of his shell a bit more, to find a bit of confidence again, to score some goals on a regular basis, playing regular football, and hopefully come back to Norwich looking like the sort of player that I thought I had signed in the first place. Now, I know you're actually interested in who it is I have brought into Norwich to face that first season back in European football. Well, of course, no season would be complete without a third goalkeeper signing, and that guy for me is John Ruddy. We have brought back an absolute club legend at Norwich already, having spent years with the club in the past, and he has gone on to be a successful keeper for Wolves. At the end of the 2021-2022 season, he was put up for sale, and we swooped in with a £140,000 offer to make him our third choice keeper. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth am I thinking to do this? That there's got to be better, younger, cheaper options out there. Bearing in mind, I've paid money to bring him to the club, and I'm paying him 10 grand a week on a 2-year deal to keep him at the club. Have I lost my mind? Well, just hear me out a second. For one, Ruddy's stats are not actually that bad. If you look at him, 15 aerial reach, 14 command of area, 15 communication, 13 handling, 14 kicking, 14 one-on-ones, 14 reflexes, and 15 rushing outs. Yes, throwing's not great. Yes, passing isn't great. But those technical goalkeeping abilities still allow me to call upon him, and I think he would do a reasonably good job in the circumstances. Perhaps most persuasive to me, and the reason why I did in the end go for this rather than a cheap free transfer, and I did have somebody in mind actually, was the mental statistics. He has a personality of model citizen, which is one of the best personalities that you could hope to have. And he has a determination of 17. I think if I put him as the head of a mentoring group, he is going to pass on nothing but good things to a number of young players. He will be somebody who I can see for these 2 years being absolutely key to the development of 3 or 4 young players. So 190, 140, how much did I pay? £140,000 to be somebody who can be a positive influence on some good young players, I think is worth that money. So the next purchase is Bournemouth's Chris Meffam, and we have paid a pretty penny for this guy, £38.5 million. He is somebody who I think will go on to be a world-class centre-back. He's 24 years of age. He still has some potential ability left to grow into, and his statistics already show an absolute beast of a centre half. Heading, marking, tackling all 16, passing of 14, mentals all of which in the either high teens or above, and physicals which mean he's able to basically keep up with the best of them in terms of his pace, but also high jumping reach, high strength and decent stamina. Now next up is Toulouse's 21-year-old by now centre half Bafodé Diakité. He is somebody who, again, I've brought in knowing that he's a very good all-round centre-half already. Great heading, great marking, great tackling, very good physicals and decent enough mentals, but knowing that he is going to progress and grow into something really very special. I mean, if you look at his statistics already and think that he's currently, according to my coaches, at 3-star current ability, but with the potential of becoming 4.5 stars, if I play my cards right, if I get him in a decent mentoring group, perhaps with John Ruddy, looking after him, get him learning from the very best at the club, he could be an absolutely key signing. And again, I've paid a fair old amount of money, £16.5 million. He's not cheap, but I think will go on to be an absolute star of a signing. And he, Meffam and Diego Quiros are going to be the 3 centre-halves I think are challenging for 2 centre-half spots this year. So the next purchase is Brazilian 21-year-old Gabriel Menino. He is another player who I was really quite impressed by, a good set of attributes that allows him to play in a huge number of roles, and his versatility really was the thing that attracted me to him. First of all, I brought him in as kind of somebody who could cover for Max Aarons or rotate around with Max Aarons should I need to. He can play in right back, he can play as the wing back that I like to play as, and with decent abilities defensively, offensively and physically, he is somebody who can keep up with the demands of that wing back role. But he is somebody who can also play in defensive midfield, and someone who I think I will mostly be playing as a box-to-box midfielder. That's where he has started the season so far. I mean, if you highlight the box-to-box midfielder role, you'll see here a whole range of statistics highlighted as key to that position, and all of them, with a few exceptions, are around 12s and 13s. So with a current ability of 3.5 star, but with the potential ability that rises to 5 stars, you can see that he's a player that can, I think, develop a little bit further. So he's a player I have brought in for his versatility, for his potential in the future, and for an ability to become a really very good box-to-box midfielder, which you've heard me mention him already. Emerson is the new left back of choice. And it was between him and Jamal Lewis that I ended up picking between. I had bids accepted for both. The reason I went for Emerson in the end is that Jamal Lewis was highlighted by my coaches as being somebody who had very high potential ability, indeed better than Emerson's, but was relatively low in terms of current ability. He was only 2.5-star current ability. Emerson is 3-star current ability, but with no real room to progress even further. So where we lost out on a bit of potential in Jamal Lewis, we have gained a more rounded, a more capable left back who can attack and go forward, as I like my fullbacks to do. Is he somebody that I think I'm going to need to replace in a few seasons' time? Yes, quite possibly. But left backs are a difficult position to fill in Football Manager 2021. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Are you finding that as well? I think fullbacks in this game are particularly hard to find, at least good ones. Fairly determined personality, good at going forward, good at the back, good physical abilities as well. He's a very good all-round player and somebody who has already started quite well for me. 7.6 average rating with a goal in his opening games. Next, on loan, Gonzalo Escalante. Escalante was somebody that I had identified being on the transfer list as a potential replacement for Ollie Skip. He has the necessary abilities to be a central defensive midfielder and a defensive midfielder a bit further back as well. And good tackling, good positioning, good strength, good stamina, good decisions, good concentration. He's got everything that's needed really to be a decent centre midfield and central defensive midfield option, and somebody who I think I'm going to be playing a lot from the bench. And the reason why he's going to be played from the bench is because we have secured the return of the Skip, and I've got no idea why Tottenham have allowed me to do this. Tottenham last season were really very poor. You see from this graph, they went from 5th place in the season before to last season finishing in 15th. They were significantly poorer this season. And why on earth it is that Massimo Allegri, who is now the Tottenham manager, has deemed it fit to release Skip to me on loan for the 3rd season running, I haven't got the faintest idea, but I'm not going to turn down such a gift horse. He is a really very good player, gets better every season, and will still be my first choice central midfield. So next up is a loan signing from Manchester United, and when I saw this guy was on the transfer list and that Man United were prepared to discuss a loan move for him, I thought that this was a very shrewd move. He's got 3-star current ability with a 3.5-star potential ability, but he can play in any one of these roles on an accomplished basis and on the left of midfield as a natural. And you can see, looking at his statistics, he's good at dribbling, he's got pace, he's got decent flair. He's somebody I think can appear from the bench and can hopefully change matches. And indeed, he's done that already. He's scored a goal against Brighton after being brought on with an average rating of 7. So he's somebody I think who will feature again quite a lot from the bench. And as he's on loan and we're only paying £22,500 of his overall wage, which I think is in the £56,000, we're getting him relatively cheaply. I think he's actually a really, really shrewd signing, and I stick by that description. And last but by no means least, we have spent a total of £40 million to bring Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Everton to Norwich for this season. Everton finished just outside of the European spots last year and were up for discussing a deal for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I thought a player from England of his ability and age, and having scored a heck of a lot of goals in the last couple of seasons, he's scored at least 10 goals a season, was going to cost me a huge amount of money, 60, 70, 80 million pounds. So imagine my surprise when Everton come back to me and said to me that he was available for 40 million. Undernard about it. I thought that was a bit too much to start off with and started investigating other options. But when I realised that other options were coming back at similar prices and those other options weren't anywhere near as good as Calvert-Lewin, I ended up biting the bullet and going back to Everton with the amount of money that they were asking for. Yes, I'm paying him a huge amount of money, £145,000 a week. And if you look at his contract, he's probably head and shoulders above everybody else. Yeah, I mean, the next highest is Emi Buendia with 85,000, and it's Chris Meffin with 77, and Liam Castrati with his new deal at £65,000. You know, there is nobody anywhere near Dominic Calvert-Lewin's money that we've offered him as part of his contract to come to Norwich City. And if the move doesn't work out, it's not going to be like a Lassina Traore where I can just swipe it under the carpet and move him out to a League Two side. Calvert-Lewin is somebody I'm going to have to persist with. I cannot allow £40 million at 145 grand a week to just be flushed down the drain. I've got to make a success of him. So it is a big transfer, and something which I think is going to make or break my time with Norwich. But he's already scored a goal. He's already got a very high average rating. I have every reason to believe that Calvert-Lewin will be an absolute rip-roaring success. One of the most rounded strikers in Football Manager this year. Looking at the squad depth screen now, we have got a very rounded squad, I think. And you look really at each of the positions in turn, and there isn't really an awful lot else that needs to be done to this squad. You know, we have got a reasonably good goalkeeper in Tim Ronning who will get better. We have got good right backs and left backs, Max Aarons and Emerson, but perhaps with a view to getting a very good left back if one becomes available. We've got decent defensive options here. Meffam goes straight to the top of the list, with Quiros and Diakati fighting out for second, and Christoph Zimmermann being my fourth choice. It's worth noting I've kept both Pukki and Zimmermann because, again, they are very, very good mentors. Great leadership, great personalities, great determination, great personalities, great mental statistics for both of them. They are really very good players that can be relied upon in order to ensure that we have a very viable mentoring system for young players, and that's the reason why I have kept them around. Both of them are out of contract at the end of the year. Both of them I expect will probably leave at the end of the year. But in the meantime, we can get use out of them as being third and fourth choices in terms of Pukki and Zimmermann respectively. And we can have them basically working with our younger players in order to give them the benefit of their wisdom. Moving up into midfield, you can see we've got Ollie Skip and Gabriel Menino as the top on the list, with Onyeka and Elena being there as well, with Escalante offering us the other position, also backup. And then going forwards, well, we've got no real problems here, have we? Castrati on the right, Buendia through the middle with Elena as backup, and then on the left over here, Guri and Cantwell. Maybe a new left winger might not go amiss. We've got Pepe in there as well, but you know, we've got Todd Cantwell here, this list here. I mean, if we're playing Castrati on the right and we're playing Calvert-Lewin up front, and Cantwell, according to this, is my best left winger otherwise, which is rather disappointing for Amin Guri, who could be considered to be harshly done by there. And then up front, of course, Calvert-Lewin as the star striker, but with Armstrong, Castrati, Pukki and Guri all offering us a plethora of other choices. So am I looking to buy anyone else? No. But would I not move for somebody if the right move came up? Absolutely not. We've got money in the bank. We have 64 million in the transfer budget left, and we've got a £401,000 wage budget left to spend. So there's plenty here to be going on with. But it's got to be the right player. It cannot just be a player for the sake of buying a player. So thank you so much for joining me for this transfer special. If you think you'd have done something different, if you think I still need a certain player of a certain kind or a certain position, then leave a comment down below. And please do remember to give this video a big old thumbs up, like the video, and subscribe as well, because that is really going to help this channel out. Thank you so much for all of that. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next time at 3 PM. Take care.